Hey guys, I'm JanetOnOccasion, and today we're playing another Total War Warhammer II Battle Replay. This is another highlight from Shadow's tournament, and it features AmoveHacker versus KaMiKaZe. So AmoveHacker is playing as the dwarfs, and he's against a vampire count. And I really like this build. I think it's really cool to see. I'm trying to think who I saw do this first. But he's got a load of hammerers. I think it might have been Soothsayer, actually. I think it might have been. Anyway, so a load of hammerers. Hammerers are really good in this matchup. Really high leadership, which helps a lot. Stops them getting terror routed or anything, which is really nice. And they will just beat the brakes off Graveguard. Just they have such good weapon strength. They can kill things very quickly, and that's usually something that the vampire counts sort of suffer against, because they have so much ambient healing and so many spells for healing. But if you kill things quick enough, then the stuff will just crumble very quickly, so it really helps. And just having infantry that can actually win those fights in the front line is very useful. The rest of the army, Longbeards, really high melee defense, so they will survive a long time, and they're immune to psychology. So while you've got this amazing roadblock of Longbeards that will refuse to budge, and then the hammerers that can come in and kill the things that need to be killed, it's actually very, very useful. Also, a couple of Slayers, Dragonback Slayers, and the Giant Slayers. Giant Slayers are going to be great against sort of, you know, the big monsters, right? The armoured ones, so the dragons, for instance. So really good for just sort of mirroring where the Lord is going to try and hack through them. It's very nice indeed. Also, Iron Drakes. Iron Drakes, they have enough armour that zombies can barely make a dent in them. It just barely hurt them at all. But they have such good missile damage and anti-large that they're great at taking out any of the big stuff. So anything like a big black coach, for instance, or, you know, the zombie dragon, or even just the anti-large will help against terrorgeists or vargolfs. It doesn't matter. You know, they'll be able to do a ton of damage to things, and the fact they can't get sort of routed off by zombies, super useful. It is super useful. It gives them a lot of time for other units to come in and help them. Also, there are some miners with blasting charges as well. I think it's just the one unit. You know, a bit of extra explosive damage in the front line. It does help whittle through a lot of the infantry, which is rather nice. Now, his opponent here, oh, actually, a lord. There's a dwarf lord. So we've gone really cheap here. Might as well. Just go cheap, you know? Use the rest of your army to do work, because you've got some very expensive things here with the hammerers, so go cheap on the Lord, because chances are your opponent isn't going to go cheap with the Lord, because all the Lords are super expensive, and with all the spells, it really adds up. There's a lot of expense there. So, yeah, use the rest of the money on the front line. Lovely. So, way over here, you can see there are the Feasters in the Dusk, which is a nice idea. They will sort of feast through a lot of units in the back line. You know, artillery crews die in seconds to them, and that poison damage is really nice and useful, and they're actually really good against Slayers as well, because they're good damage dealers, and they don't have the armor piercing, which of course you don't need, so they're great at accosting that back line, you know, getting through the Slayers, getting through artillery crews, you know, and getting through most of the other things you're going to find here, Rangers or Quarrelers or Thunderers or whatever. But huge armor of the Iron Drakes, they will survive a long time against them. So another real nice move by the dwarfs, but also a very nice move by the vampire counts here. So also you can see there is a Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, great anti-infantry. He'll just chop things to pieces, got a load of great spells and abilities at his disposal. Very, very good Lord. I mean, melee attack of 78 is just ludicrous. There's also some Fellbats to help with bogging down artillery and ranged units. Konigstein Stalkers and a black coach on that side. Over on here, another black coach trying to get round the other way. And the front line, as you'd expect, it's mostly Graveguard, and Graveguard with great weapons. So good mix of anti-infantry and armor-piercing anti-infantry there, as well as a bit of fodder with things like the Skeleton Warriors to help bog more things down, so speeding things up. So, yeah, things are starting to move forward, which is good. And what is a bit of a shame, actually, is I'm pretty sure, does this count as shallows? I can't really tell. I honestly can't tell. But large targets will have the advantage there. Any infantry sort of in water will suffer, but it doesn't seem to be showing a tooltip for the water, so I'm actually not sure if it counts on this map. It should do, but I'm not sure if it does, which is unusual. I'm not seeing the little swamp icon. So anyway, we'll see. Maybe I hold space. No, I'm not seeing it, but yeah, large things should have the advantage here. Obviously the infantry will all be debuffed, so it'll be fairly even. But here you can see the Fellbats are charging in, trying to bog down the Iron Drakes that are already beginning to fire. Blood Dragon Vampire Lord did take a bit of damage, and Black Coach is moving around the outside, Feast in the Dusk coming in, and zombies are going to be summoned, not to kill the Iron Drakes, it will stop them firing, and that's pretty important. As you can see, one volley did a tremendous amount of work to those Graveguard with great weapons that will do a lot of damage. You really want these hammerers to win decisively so they can move on to another target. But here you can see Longbeards are holding out rather nicely, Skeleton Warriors against Miners, so not too bad there. You know, there's nothing sort of too overwhelming anywhere. Except maybe over here, you can see the Longbeards are having to fight Graveguard and Graveguard of Great Weapons, and now a rear charge of the Black Coach that does have Van Hel's Dance Macabre, which I think is a great spell for them. It makes them so quick, and it gives them the extra melee attack, which is really cool. So here you can see some Graveguard of Great Weapons did make it into the back, but of course the Hammerers will do great against them. Do really well. You can see here, Invocation to Heck is the only reason why these Graveguard are doing better than the Hammerers. Of course, Hammerers are expensive. Oh, and there is the Helm of Discord. Yeah, that's going to hurt. But you can see a lot of different abilities are being used, and yet the Hammerers are still holding their own. They do trade pretty cost effectively, or at least cost evenly, which is rather nice. Huge investment here, and you can see the Graveguard is starting to crumble, which is nuts. Well, not quite crumbling, but critical binding at least. And here, Black Coach suffering a huge amount of damage. It's just impossible for the Iron Drakes not to do a ton of hurt to these guys. So really wonderful to see. Black Coach really suffering. Slayers trying to chase down the other one. Dragonback Slayers would of course slow things down when they catch them, which is nice, but they are getting a bit bogged down here, which is a problem. You know, the Sternsman will be great against all of these units. See, one of the Longbeards has been punched through, but the Hammerers are still holding firm. These ones doing a fine job. Look at this, Graveguard Great Weapons nearly gone. They just get completely chewed up by these hammers. And here you can see the Black Coach. Van Hel's Dance Macabre on him as well, so really high melee attack. The problem is, though, with Black Coaches, although, you know, once they do get into the groove and they get all their buffs, they will be able to run through anything they want and do a tremendous amount of damage, but they do magic damage, which is a bit of a pity for them, I think. If they didn't do magic damage, they'd be even better in this matchup, but as it stands, they're pretty damn good anyway, so it's probably for the best. So here you can see Giant Slayers just running through everything, trying to do what they can. Blasting charges going off again, but these Iron Drakes still a little bit bogged down, which is a pity. You can see they are still firing, though. They are still getting some shots in, and a lot of units are crumbling. But most valuable units, you know, Graveguard, they're really suffering. These ones, though, they are finding going through these Hammerers. There was a lot of support on this end by the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord. A lot of spells being used to try and keep these guys in the fight. But, yeah, these Hammerers have been completely admirable. Absolutely love to see it. So here you can see more zombies trying to bog down these Iron Drakes, and they're just going to keep getting bogged down by zombies. You've got to stop them firing. Their DPS is too good. It is absolutely incredible. So here, Hammerers now falling back, actually. I mean, they've got plenty of armor, zombies will barely hurt them, but that is a Helm of Discord by the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, who is helping to trim the edges a bit here. And it does mean these Iron Drakes are very, very vulnerable in this mix. And now, the Lord is getting chased down, and that is also a bit of a problem. But it does look like the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord is getting a bit caught up. Over on this side, Giant Slayers now moving into the side so they can come in here and do what they can. And Longbeard still holding out in a few places, which is very good. Very good indeed. These ones, barely a scratch on them. So they are holding. They are holding. More Longbeards here, and Iron Drakes able to get some more shots in. These ones trying to retreat. You know, there's plenty of Hammerers and Giant Slayers trying to keep everything pinned. But you can see the Giant Slayers are doing a huge amount of work. So the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord, he is on a horse, so he is a large target, and a huge armor piercing will get through that 110 armor, no problem. So Giant Slayers are perfect for dealing with the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord on a horse. And now the Dwarf is getting in. The Dwarf Lord is getting in. And here, Black Coach, he does have all his buffs. He is zipping around like an absolute maniac. But the Iron Drakes haven't been stopped. You know, they haven't been stopped. So this Black Coach is still getting shot at. And there are Slayers still poised. So he can't really afford to get in there and try and deal with the Iron Drakes particularly well. Looks like another zombie summon just makes it in time before the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord is killed. But he just got torn apart by those Giant Slayers. Black Coach still trying to move. And yeah, Iron Drakes are bogged down again, which is something. But these need to get taken out. So the Black Coach, while it's quick, just get into those Iron Drakes. He's got the armor piercing and the anti-infantry. Huge armor piercing. He will be able to deal with the Iron Drakes if he can get into them. You know, while one is being chased off, attack the other. You can't let these guys stay online because they will absolutely shred anything on the field. So here we go. There we go. Big, big damage to the Iron Drakes, stopping them from firing. And of course the Black Coach just zips through them. Ooh, nope, nope, they're still getting hit. They're still getting hit. Oh my. Knocking a few more. Going through the Giant Slayers. As long as you don't stop moving, you can get through the Giant Slayers pretty quickly, and it will hurt them a lot. Trying to keep moving, but looks like he's getting a bit caught up now. And more shots from the other Iron Drakes coming in. There's too much pressure on this Black Coach. And all the infantry is losing out because of all of these Hammerers. The Hammerers are able to kill this stuff with very little sort of ranged support, which is often what you get with Dwarves. Usually the Dwarves, they just have a line that they hope will hold while all the ranged stuff does the damage. But actually bringing damage dealers in your front line like the Hammerers, it works wonders. It works really well. You know, the fact they can get stuff to crumble so quickly is pretty amazing because they just do so much damage so quickly. And leadership for Vampire Count's units is actually pretty crap. It is pretty rubbish. It's just the fact they keep getting healed up. They don't have all the big debuffs from damage dealt on them usually, you know, because they're kept to quite high health. But you can break them all very quickly if you can do damage quickly, and that's exactly what the hammers are good at. So absolutely wonderful to see. Iron Drake's still firing, not even caring about the zombies anymore. I think they're just on guard mode, being told to attack stuff, and they're barely taking a scratch. I mean, the fact that these guys have probably had, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 zombie summons put on top of them, they don't care. They've still got half the health, still 17 models, it's nuts. So over here, Dragonback Slayers, they're just getting stuck in, doing what they can. These Iron Drakes finally got caught out by these Graveguard of Great Weapons. So it's only a matter of time before they get caught out eventually. But at this point, they're not really needed anymore. And army losses has now taken hold. So I guess it's just up to these zombies. So let's see if they can do it. Oh wow, they are actually sticking it out. Really? We are gonna watch this. Okay, we're gonna see if these zombies can win. That's apparently happening. So Longbeard's charging in. Hammer is charging. More Hammer is charging. Longbeards, Slayers. Everything's charging in. Yeah, okay, he's called it quits. He's called it quits. Fair enough. He's probably just saying, you know, GG. People like to chat, and I encourage that behaviour. So yeah, Pyrrhic victory. Absolutely wonderfully played. This is a tough one though for the vampire counts, I think. I mean, if the vampire counts are really on form and the dwarves don't quite know what to expect, then the dwarves can get pretty bullied by, often you get sort of Vargulfs and black coaches sort of spam and just everything gets pinned down. You know, if you have something like, it used to be quite traditional, bring Manfred up in the air on a Hellsteed, and he can just summon zombies, you know, on top of the back line as much as he wants, while the things with huge mass, you know, stuff like the Black Coach that basically becomes unstoppable once he gets all its buffs. Certainly unstoppable, you know, from infantry, and that's all you're up against. You know, you're basically unstoppable. Yeah, the Vargulf's just stuff with mass that can pick their targets really easily. So, you know, you can just charge through the front line, bully all the back line, and once all that's dead, you can just cycle charge everything to death. That can often happen. But with this army, it's very, very tough to do that. It's very tough to do that indeed. You know, the Iron Drakes just have such good DPS, and the zombies won't stop them, you know, all that easily. I think this could have gone a little bit better for KaMiKaZe if he was able to focus these guys down a bit more, because he should have known he can't just rely on the zombies, you know, to keep these guys pinned for long. You know, they kept firing regardless. A lot of them were still getting shots in, and just the amount of damage they do, you've got to kill them. And there was nothing to kill them. You know, there's nothing to kill them. Of course, beautifully played by AmoveHacker, using the Slayers and the Giant Slayers just to keep them super protected in the back line. The Hammerers, I mean, look at that, 274 kills. Wonderful. So these guys, just superb. Longbeards, you know, immune to psychology. There's no hope of them being terrified away. Though, I'm not sure if there was any terror. Do Black Coaches cause terror? It slipped my mind. It's actually slipped my mind if they do or not. Huh. How about that? I think they do. Someone let me know. I've totally blanked whether they cause terror or not. Because, yeah, usually if you see Black Coach, you see other things that definitely cause terror, so you still got terror in the army, so it's fine. But anyway, yeah, beautifully played by both players here. I just think KaMiKaZe was really, yeah, he just didn't quite have the build for it. I think just having the 2 large targets that are very mobile, that was enough for the Iron Drakes to polish off very, very quickly, and that really cost him. So guys, be sure to go check out Shadow's channel. He's casting every single game from his tournament, and that is a lot of games. There's over 100 games just in the group stages, which this still is, by the way. There's still the group stages. So be sure to go subscribe to Shadow and, yeah, check out a load of his tournament coverage, because it's probably covered, I don't know, like 50 games by now. It's kind of ridiculous. And yeah, they just keep coming, so it's amazing. So guys, if you enjoyed this, please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.